And our next question comes in here from Jake Tom, who's writing a PhD thesis about how information systems now should be built to accommodate the new privacy regulations in Europe called the GDPR, and eventually other privacy legislation that will undoubtedly follow in the coming months. We'll talk more about why these laws are coming in a second. And over the course of this period, he's realized the first practical step is moving to open source alternatives to commercial software, because those open source alternatives do not answer to a commercial authority in many cases and are not going to be leaking your private information, even if anonymized, to some company that might make money from the use of that. I'm thinking, of course, about Windows 10, which does a lot of that kind of monitoring. Apple's OS 10 does as well, and different companies are doing different things in regards to how that information is treated, but nonetheless, there are a lot more things about your private usage that are getting sent out to companies on these closed source platforms versus the open ones. And I totally agree with where he's coming from, but the key sentence here that he brought up is that there is a learning curve involved when using open source software for some problems. But when have you ever lost something by learning something new? Now, of course, that's the perspective I have on life. I love learning new things all the time. This channel is a lesson in that. I learn something new every day that I try to apply to what I do throughout the course of the day. But the problem really comes down to the fact that most consumers are not interested in learning new things with their technology. Many of them don't like technology but have to use it. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of these hacks and identity thefts and all the other things that are going on happen. This is how all this private data gets leaked out, because they're not aware of exactly what they are doing, and we have just an overall lack of technical ability out there. And unfortunately, some of the things that we do to try to protect ourselves are complicated as well. Stephanie McKeon made this great comment on the video I did in regards to two-factor authentication and better securing your accounts. She says, look, unfortunately, people that really need to be using these examples will never do it because it's way too complicated and cumbersome for the average user. And that is our conundrum. These privacy leaking devices are easier to use. They have support structures around them. There's stores that you can go to get things looked at. You don't have any of that with open source, unfortunately. And it's getting worse. And this is my big concern here, is that we've got this massive collection leak of 2.2 billion email address and password combinations out there that no longer is being sold on the dark web. It's just out there for anyone to take. And undoubtedly, one of your email and password combinations are in there. And if you're using the same email and password for everything, you are at risk. It's only a matter of time before somebody stumbles across your name on this list of 2.2 billion and starts plugging in that information into various websites to get things going. And open source is not all perfect either. We've seen some examples of some huge vulnerabilities out there that have leaked a lot of this private information out. Some of these major hacks that have occurred have been because open source software had a vulnerability that the company hadn't patched properly in many cases. So these are complex systems, no matter which way you look at it. And I do agree with the premise, though, that you will be better protected in that your operating system is not phoning home to a corporation. But again, the friction to getting consumers to adopt this stuff at scale, I think, is going to be extremely difficult, given how many consumers don't even secure their passwords properly.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold-level supporters Chris Allegretta, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, Anuj Zaveri, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.